Okay, now we're cooking. All right. So
You're
welcome
cooking.
everybody. I'm glad you could make it. Tonight, I'm going to talk about some different pressures that we either run at Mount Allison today or we've run in the past, and we don't run any longer because naturally you're always evolving, but you're always changing depending on what defenses are doing. And I'm going to start with just some uh, kind of high level thoughts as to what we need to concentrate on when we're talking about pass protection. We're not going to get involved very deeply into techniques because that's a presentation or three on its own. Okay, depending on what it is that you're planning on doing. But we'll touch on some of the rules, some of the techniques that we use, and we'll get to the different protections later on in the presentation, and then we'll watch some film and make some corrections uh, based on what we see on the film. So with the film, I just grabbed 4 or 5 clips from each type of presentation. I didn't look to see whether it was good or bad or indifferent. I just pulled them down, and what we'll do is we'll break them down together and see what's right and what's wrong in it. So first thing is the agenda. So we want to talk a little bit about your toolbox, okay, and your player's toolbox. And then there are 3 main foundation pieces of pass protection, okay, whether it's pass protection actually or it's run protection. They're the same 3 foundation pieces. So trying to find a name for them, I guess I named them the 3 musketeers, and they don't go anywhere without each other. They work together. They're not independent of each other. You have to work them at the same time. And I have one golden rule, and on the call I see Mike Hewlett, who's played for me now for 4 years, and Mike probably should be able to tell you what that golden rule is. It's just one line, 2 words, and we'll get into that a little bit. We'll talk just very briefly on pressure philosophy, what the defense is what they're trying to do with pressure and what they have to do to apply pressure to us, and then we'll go through about 6, 7 protections. Okay, so the toolbox. I'll steal a line out of Capital One credit cards, Visa, and what's in your player's toolbox, and then what's in your toolbox. There is not one single way to do things. Okay, if all you have is a hammer, then everything's going to look like a nail to you. So you constantly have to be growing your knowledge of different techniques and different ways to accomplish the same thing. Coach Harper and I spent an hour and a half together on a video conference or on a Zoom meeting earlier this afternoon with O-line coaches across the region, some from other parts of the country. And it's amazing how we all have a different way of doing the same thing, okay? Sometimes one thing will work for me, won't work for another coach, and sometimes it'll work for me for a while and it won't work after a little while, and I have to find a way to be able to fix that problem. I'll give you an example, simple example on a reach block. This year we started to run an outside zone play, and I had one way of teaching the reach block. There's probably 3 or 4 different ways, and it was working for some of my guys, and for some of my guys it wasn't working. So we added a new technique in, or a different technique on how to do it, a skip pull, and one of my guys really liked it. He could execute it perfectly. He was always reaching the man he had to reach, no matter how wide he was. And the other tackle on the other side hated it, and he wanted to stay with the old way we did it. So, you have to have different things in your toolbox to make sure that you can accomplish your goals and be able to do what you have to do, okay? And there's never one technique or one way to do it. There's all different. You also have to remember that not all players are created equal, okay? So it's our responsibility as coaches to provide them with the tools for success, okay? I may have a 5'11", 300-pound guard okay? And I may have a 6'6", 290-pound tackle. One may be very athletic, the other one may not be that athletic at all, but an extremely hard worker. They're not equal. I can't expect that they're going to be able to take the same techniques and use them in the exact same way. I have to be flexible and allow them to do what works for them, okay? But as I say that, the tools that we teach them and we have to be fundamentally sound, okay? You can't teach tools that are not fundamentally sound. I've got here a little note, let Howard Mudd and Jim McNally do the crazy stuff. I don't know if you're aware who Howard Mudd and Jim McNally are. Well, they were offensive line coaches in the NFL, each for 30, 40 years. And Howard was the offensive line coach with the Indianapolis Colts all during Peyton Manning's years. And when he retired, Manning insisted that they bring him back as a consultant. That's how much he relied on him on getting protection. And Jim McNally, who I've heard live, I think 3 times now, is the grandfather of zone blocking. But the last time I heard him do a presentation, I believe the name of it was Crazy Stuff That Actually Works. None of it was very fundamentally sound, but he was just teaching stuff kind of off the wall, what you could do, and it actually worked. And I remember Howard Mudd teaching, when a defensive lineman spins, the offensive lineman should spin with him. So if the defensive lineman spins, the offensive line spins with him. He turns, when he gets faced back around, the offensive lineman is actually facing him. Now, I went to a high school practice in Halifax to help a team one time in the spring, and actually got a kid to do that because he was so much better than everybody else. He was getting bored. And it actually does work, but I don't think I would teach it to any of my team because it's not very fundamentally sound. And
DT, I'll step in. I did that one time, but it was completely by accident.
Yeah. So on the O-line, which is where I coach, and it's the only place I've ever wanted to coach, okay, we work on the most mundane fundamentals every day. Okay, and anyone that's played for me can tell you that my practices don't vary. I might throw a different drill in once a week or once every 2 weeks just to kind of change it up a bit. But basically, I run what I run every day, and that's my belief on how we get better. The 3 musketeers, okay, as we'll call them, are really just your eyes, your feet, and your hands. And they all have to be trained. Your eyes are probably the most overlooked fundamental that we have. Okay, when I hear coaches talk, and they talk about the punch, they talk about feet, how to move, very seldom do I hear coaches talk about eyes. Okay, and I start from the pre-snap read right down to the strike when you're blocking, okay? So in the pre-snap read, I've also heard coaches talk about that, say, okay, we have a pre-snap read, but the question is, what are you looking at, okay? Well, some of the things that you should be looking at are where the linebackers are positioned. Are they inside, where they normally are in a standard like A-B gap type look, or are they mugged into a gap, okay, like Bishops and St. FX did somewhat this year, or are they off the edge in a jet look, like they're going to come in off the edge? All of these things are going to make whatever calls you have for your pass protection could change your pass protection or how you're going to approach your pass protection. So they should be looked at before we start. The center and tackles should always be looking at the safety, his position. Sometimes it can determine edge pressure or possible +1 pressure. So the real good free safeties will stay right in the middle and only move at the very last second. They're tougher to read, okay? But some of them will, instead of being in the middle of the field, you'll see them cheating over. So maybe they're over top of the sandbacker, maybe they're over top of the boundary half a little bit. And that can give you some indication that you're going to get edge pressure, and he's coming over to pick up and cover whoever that we'll say boundary half or Sam Backer as the number 3 or the number 2 weak receiver. Okay. Also, take a look at your edges, your boundary halves, your field halves, your boundary corners. Are they being sneak weasels? Okay. Are they sneaking up? Sometimes you'll see them and they'll start to shimmy up. That's why we use a lot of freeze calls. We want to see if they're coming up. Okay. So those are the things you should be looking at on an overall. Where are we going to get pressure? From a front perspective, okay, what front are they in? Are they in an over? Are they in an under? Okay. Is my adjacent lineman in a position to help me on the slide side? So if I'm a tackle on the right side and my right guard has got a 2-eye or a 1 technique, okay, then I should be able to know that I can overset my defensive end because I've got help from that guard. He's not covered. He's uncovered. So now he's going to be able to help me if I overset him and he comes inside. I don't have to worry about that. But if he sees a 3 technique and he's down on my outside shoulder, okay, now the backside tackle needs to play inside out. So now he has to play that as a man type technique. Okay. So he should be able to look at that. You should be able to look at that and see, where are these guys? Are they leaning to slant? Okay. The other thing that I'm big on is look at the man you're blocking. For God's sakes, have your guys look at the man you're blocking. When I played high school, we were told, don't look at your man and let him know you're going to block him. So I've got a quick story. I was at Mount A a few years back now after Coach Harper left. And I had a large tackle, 6'6", about 300 pounds. And we were in spring camp and we were working on pass sets. And he was supposed to pass set on the defensive end that was in a 5 technique just off of his outside shoulder. Just before we started the drill, I looked over and he's looking straight ahead. His focus is straight ahead, but there's nobody out there. There's no linebackers, there's no safety, there's nobody out there. So I came over and I asked him, I said, what are you looking at? He said, I'm looking straight ahead. I don't want him to know I'm going to block him. I said, well, you're 6'6" and you're 300 pounds. Do you really think you're going to be able to sneak up on him? And he kind of thought about it for a second and said, nah, I guess not. I said, right. So look at him. Look at who you're going to block because your eyes are going to direct your feet. If you're not looking at who you're blocking, your feet are not going to get to the right spot. You're not going to know what's going to happen until too late, and then you're not going to be able to make the adjustments. Okay. The other thing that I see a lot from kids coming into university is their eyes are down. They come up to the line of scrimmage, their eyes are down, they're looking at the ground. Eyes up. Get your eyes up so you can see what's going on. There's nothing going to come out of the ground that's going to help you at all in the rep that you're about to take, whether it's in practice or in a game. Okay, so I would suggest very strongly that those things be emphasized to your players so that when they go to the next level, whether it's provincial ball or whether it's from Bantam to high school or high school to university or college ball, that they're a little bit prepared, okay, especially from a mental perspective, okay? So the other thing is always remember that little steps are better than big ones. Long guys, the big, tall, 6'5", 6'6" fellas, they love to take that first step when they're setting a big, long step. And then the second step takes about 3 times longer to reset to get back into balance again. So when we're teaching kids to set, let's teach them to use short little steps, quick, fast steps, 1, 2, 1, 2, so that your 2 feet are moving. It's not a big, long step and then a long recoil. Good pass demeanor. Post foot up. Made this comment this afternoon in our meeting. I get a lot of players now that come up from high school level, and they have what I call a square stance. Their feet are parallel. Okay, they don't have a definitive post foot where your inside foot is up and your catch foot or your catch leg or your set foot is back some. And I'm a big believer that you have to have a post foot. Okay, otherwise you're going to struggle all the time with keeping that post foot up. You're going to end up opening the door to a short pass rush from your opponent. Shoulders back with good bend in the hips, ankles, and knees. And I'm going to show you. I've got a guy. He's a great player. He's an all-conference player this year for me, but he really struggles to keep his knees inside his ankles. And it's really, it takes a lot more for him to move than it does for someone that has that right stance that can keep those knees inside the ankles when they're in their stance. The next point I guess I want to make is teach getting to the spot. And the spot is that point of intersection. Okay? So the point of intersection is where the defensive lineman is going to cross to get to your quarterback when he's done his drop. So if he's in a shotgun and he has a 3-step drop, that ends up to be about 7.5 yards from the center. If you take a straight line and you draw that straight line from wherever that defensive end is, I'll just use the defensive end as an example, but it's the same thing for a tackle, to where that spot is, the offensive lineman, the offensive tackle or offensive guard has to get to that spot before the defender. And once he gets to that spot, he can settle, relax a little bit, and then he puts the pressure on the defender to make a decision on what he's going to do, whether he's going to bull rush you, whether he's going to bubble out and try to go around you, whether he's going to put a move on you, play half man, or do whatever it is that he's going to do. But we have to understand that we want to get to that set point first, and we have to know where the set point is, and that takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of time. Okay? For the tackle, it begins with, in my mind, it begins with 2 sets. So we want to set short sets. Okay, we lead with the foot in the direction we're going to. So 1, 2, 1, 2. We're at a point. Okay, and now the defender has to cross through us or go around us. Okay, for the guards and center, this means splitting the crotch with your catch or set leg. Okay, I used to play it so that I wanted to cover my man up and I wanted to cover him up 50%. So get my nose to the inside of his inside eye. But what I found was a lot of times we would overset. So we always want to make them lose, make them go as far as we can. So now what we teach is and the guys seem to catch it a little better, is split his crotch with your outside knee. Okay. You also have to worry about or wonder about, okay, if the defender, when he reaches that point of intersection and continues upfield, do you sink or do you open the door up and open up and try to run him off? Okay. So whatever it is that you try to do or that you do, you have to work on that transition from setting to sinking. That's a hard transition. So you're setting on an angle, about a 45-degree angle, and then you have to change and sink to a 90-degree angle. So you're sinking directly back. So what we do every day is we work set, sink with our tackles, okay? And then we open the door and we open and go. And the next point I have is, when do you open and then how do you open? So some players will open, they'll just swing that leg open and give a short edge. A long time ago, I watched some DBs doing a drill, and when they would backpedal, they would turn their inside foot to open, and they would gain about an extra 2.5 feet when they opened up. So we started doing that with all linemen, and it works. You open up, you make the defender go further upfield, so he doesn't get to the quarterback quite as easy, But it does take a lot of work, and it does take a lot of, it takes 4 or 5 reps every day that you have to do so they get used to that movement, okay? The ability to redirect, okay? In my opinion, this is the most difficult skill for an old lineman arriving at a university, okay, is the ability to redirect. So setting to his right and then redirecting back inside if the defender puts his foot in the ground and tries to cross his face. It sounds easy, but what happens is 80% of the time they drop their post foot or they overset, they can't come back, the weight is not distributed properly. They're halfway through one step and then they try to step with the outside foot, they get out of balance. So every day we drill setting to a set position, which is just one set. So if I've got a guard and he's got a 3 technique on him, maybe all he has to do is just take one set step with his outside leg, and that doesn't have to move his inside leg, his post leg, okay? But then we work on, when we redirect, we have to replace that set leg to redirect, because if we try to open up with our post foot, what ends up happening is we're out of bounds, okay? We've got too wide of a balance of a base now, and we can't take that second step, okay? If we set and we drag, so we set now and we bring the post foot with us, we can redirect just by posting back up again. So it's an easy post. But again, all of these steps have to be practiced on a daily basis. When we post, we always teach 2 steps. Take 2 post steps. So we've got an inside man and we're posting up on him. 2 post steps, and then we go through the same process. When we have the 2 post steps, we work on redirecting. So if I get halfway through them into the second post, I get the post set up. I haven't brought my catch leg with me. I have to replace and then redirect the set, okay? So what we want to do is we always want to stay in balance. Always stay in balance. If our feet get out too wide or they come too close together, we're not in balance and we're going to get beat, okay? We're not going to be able to redirect. On the previous slide, I said that your feet will bring, or your eyes will bring your feet or direct your feet. Well, in this one here, it's now your feet will bring your hands. If your hands arrive before your feet, okay, you're wrong, okay? You have to keep your hands inside your framework. So we'll see a lot of kids get their hands outside their framework trying to punch, and their feet have not brought the hands with them, okay? We've got to work on the feet getting over to cover our guys up, okay? The last one is the hands, okay? And again, it's a constant. You have to stay on your guys. You have to train this, okay? The first thing is hand carriage. Where do you carry your hands? Some coaches like them low, some coaches like them up high. Personally, I think the optimal place is your thumbs are about nipple high, okay, with your palms at 45 degrees to the ground. Not flat, not so that they're flat over top, not so that they're straight up, just 45 degrees with your elbow in. The strike is a quick, decisive strike with no windup, okay? There is no windup. We don't want to bring our hands way back on a pass set. Our strike should just basically be a quick snap from the elbows and the lats. And the hands come out, thumbs are up, away from the body, and we hit into his chest, okay? Work independent hands. And all that means is you don't have to strike with 2 hands every time. And sometimes it's not beneficial to strike with 2 hands. Many times, especially if someone's working to the outside and you're expecting a move back inside, you want to be able to use independent hands. You want to be able to strike with your outside hand, keeping your inside hand back so that when he comes back across your face, you've got it in reserve, okay? Sometimes if he's working to your outside and you try to strike with 2 hands as he gets to your outside, your shoulders turn in, now you're out of balance. You've opened the door, and now he's got a direct line to your quarterback. Okay, so work independent hands. It's something that some coaches don't think to do. Okay, they teach just the two-hand strike, but I would encourage you very much to work those hands independently. Okay, and every day we work on counters, work on resetting our hands. Okay, so when we watch film, we watch what our defenders are doing. Okay, uh, so we have to work on dropping and resetting hands on counters versus a chop in our conference. A lot of teams, defensive ends especially, will come with a chop to try to chop that outside arm down. So rather than pull the arm back and then bring it back into place, which is kind of a slow process, we'll teach them to drop the hand and then bring it right back up again. It's much quicker. We're back into, and what happens is if he chops too hard, sometimes his shoulder will drop, and then we've got a contact point where we can strike with two hands right onto the pin of that shoulder. So we also work bull rush, resetting our hands on bull rush, rips, arm over, swims. Although if you got a lot of guys that are 6'6", 6'7", you don't get a lot of arm overs. Most of the stuff is bull rush they try on them. And when you do this, it all has to be done when working in conjunction with your feet. Okay, so all those things I said before about your feet, you're working your feet, all of those things have to be in play as you're working with your hands. So we start with the eyes, we work the feet, and then we bring the hands in, and the feet and the eyes have to stay they have to stay as part of your drills. Okay. The golden rule, stay square. If you don't do any of those other things, stay square. It will forgive a lot of sins. Keep your shoulder pads square to the line of scrimmage for as long as you can. Eventually, they'll have to turn, but if you keep them as square as you can for as long as you can, you'll have a lot of your sins of bad technique taken care of. Okay? You'll be in a better position to redirect. You'll be able to pick things up that come late. It's just, it's one of the things, if I say one thing, if someone comes to play for me at Mount Allison, they probably hear me scream, stay square 500 times a year, if not more. Okay? It's constantly coming out of my mouth. And if there's one thing you take from any of this, that's the one thing that I would ask you to take away. Okay? This is a little bit on pressure philosophy. Okay, so we'll just go through this quick before we get into the actual different protections. The philosophy of the defense, okay, is the more rushers the defense brings, the fewer defenders they can have in coverage. Okay, that's just a fact. They bring 7 rushers, there's only 5 guys that they can keep in coverage. If the defense outnumbers the amount of blockers we have, okay, they usually need to get into a man-to-man coverage. Okay, it's just something good to know so that you know. And they will probably not have any help over the top. Okay, their philosophy in that case is that they want to get to the quarterback before he can get the ball. Okay, so they'll send the extra rusher to get into coverage or to get to the quarterback before we can get the ball out. They're taking that chance that they're in a +1, that we're not going to be able to get the ball out to somebody before they knock us on our ass. Okay. Another philosophy defenses implement is to bring edge pressure or overload aside and then drop out of the opposing so basically rotate their coverage. Okay, they'll rotate the coverage from one side over top of the other. This changes where the pressure is coming from, but they're still able at that point to have the appropriate amount of defenders in coverage. Okay, so that's when you might see the free safety rolling over the top. You know that there's good chance that they're going to bring somebody off the edge. The halfback may be going up high as the free safety drops down to cover for whoever is coming into pressure. And finally, sometimes we'll get, I don't know if you get this in high school, you certainly didn't when I was coaching high school. Finally, the defenses can replace an edge blitzer, coverage by dropping an interior defender. Okay, so a lot of the times they may bring a Sam off the edge and drop the rush defensive end. Okay, drop him into coverage. So we've got a blitz coverage coming, but they're not really bringing extra men. They're just bringing different guys, and they're dropping someone else back in to coverage to make sure that they're fundamentally sound. Okay, so therefore, before every snap, it's crucial that the center is able to identify the safety and the safeties if something's off. Okay, and identify the Mike. The Mike in our package is not the middle linebacker. Middle linebacker in our language is the MAC. The Mike is who we ID, what linebacker that we ID that we are going to slide to. Okay, so it could be the Will, it could be the Sam. It just depends on how they set up. We'll call him the Mike, and the center has to identify him so we know. Okay, we're sliding over to him, and he is in the responsibility of that slide side if we're in half slide. If we're in a half slide protection. Okay. By finding the safeties, it's a possibility we can see if they're covering down or bringing +1. So if they walk down and get into the box, there's a good chance they're in cover 0. I've got an extra guy in the box, and they're at least giving us the look that they're going to bring an extra rusher. Okay. And they're not going to have anybody over top. Okay. So that's basically the Reader's Digest condensed version of pressure philosophies that the defense can use on us, okay, that we have to be aware of. We're going to get into protections now, and we'll cover, there's about seven or eight protections here. The first one that we're going to cover is 5-man half slide. That very simply is 5-man protection, okay? It's the 5 offensive linemen. There's no extra defenders. There's no extra pass protectors. The tailback is releasing to a pass concept, usually on the side, the call side, but he also can release on the slide side. It just depends on what your philosophy is, or if it's what concept it is that he's going to be going out on. Okay, but generally in our scheme, he will release to the call side. Okay, the offensive line is responsible for the 4-down lineman and the Mike backer, whoever we identify as the Mike, to any pressure coming off the edge from the call. As the back releases, we're anticipating that he's going to take a linebacker with him. Okay, so when he releases, one of those linebackers is going to have responsibility for the tailback, and he should bail out, okay, with him to make sure that he's covered in whatever pass concept that he's going to. Okay, the line will, so on the column we'll say it's 60. So it's 60 protection. The even side, because we have a 0, would be the man side with the tailback releasing on the right. So he would release on the right. And on the right-hand side of the line, that guard and that tackle would be in a man-to-man protection scheme. Okay? No different than if you're running big on big. Okay? On the other side, from the center over, we will slide away from the call and protect any of the 3 defenders that the defense brings. We can only block 5. So if they bring 6, okay, quarterback's responsible for the extra man, and he has to throw hot. Okay, so he has to be able to pick that guy up with his eyes and get rid of the ball as quickly as he can, so to make sure that he's not, if he's hit in the mouth by that guy, that's not the offensive line. It's not the running back's problem. That's his problem. He didn't get rid of the football quick enough. Okay. Some slide rules, basically backside tackle will set to 7/8, and it should be, or the outside eye of the outside man, if he has help. So if the guard that's, if his adjacent guard is uncovered, then he is allowed, or he will be able to overset on that tackle. So he'll set over to the outside eye of that defensive end, okay? The backside guard says to 50% of the defender if he's covered. If he's uncovered, okay, keeps his eyes on the backer and the defensive end, keeps up his post foot and sinks as deep as the defensive end with a tackle with a drag arm to maintain position on any backside defender. So if he's got a 2-eye or 1 technique, he is not going to slide away to where, but what he's going to do, he's going to have a drag arm, and we'll see this when we get to the film. His eyes are going to be looking over to where the backer is, where the defensive end is, and he's going to sink to the depth of that tackle. But he's going to maintain a presence with the center on that 1 or 2-eye technique. Okay? The center is going to do the exact same thing. If he has a 3 technique, he's going to keep a presence on the man guard behind him. Okay? But he's going to be responsible to stay at the depth of that guard. Okay, keeping his eye on that linebacker because he's responsible for that linebacker. Okay, even though the slide is considered a zone concept, we have man responsibilities. Okay, when we get into the film, we can show you that a little better. The play side guard, so the guard on the right, because it's a 60 call, okay, if he has a 1 or a 2-eye technique, is going to take 2 posts. When we talked about that, he's inside, he's going to take 2 post steps, okay, and versus a 3 technique, he's going to split the crotch of the defender, go to 50% with the outside leg, and he's blocking man-to-man. And then the play side tackle, one-on-one with the backside defensive end, inside out, and he's responsible. He's also responsible for any immediate B-gap threat. So if a backer tries to come down and dog into the B-gap, he's going to step down. That's going to be his first responsibility because he's closer to the quarterback. If the defensive end tries to spike across his face into that B-gap, he is responsible to stop that, allow the backer to go around to the outside. He'll be the hot guy. And the only other thing that comes is that if a linebacker comes down in a gap on the slide side, so if the mic walks down or starts to come down, we will give a backer call. Okay, so you'll hear somebody holler backer, backer, and that just basically lets the tackle know I'm playing man-to-man now, inside out. I cannot overset my my defensive end. Okay. So here, guys, there's just a few schematics that I had access to. All right, give you an idea. So the top left quadrant here, okay, this would be a 61 protection. So the center would identify the MAC backer as the mic here, okay, and we would be responsible for the mic, that tackle, and this end, okay. The tailback is leaving, and he's pulling the will out with him. So we've got 5 on 5, okay? If these 3 guys come and they bring a Sam off the edge or they bring a boundary half off the edge, those will be the hot guys, okay? They will be the hot guys. This would be versus an underfront, I guess. It's the same idea. This time here now, the MAC is over top into the B gap. So we are responsible for the tackle, the end, and the MAC to anything coming off the outside. Okay? Tailback is leaving. We're hoping he's taking that well with him. Okay? As you can see, each one, we won't talk about this one right now because that's a very unusual front. We only see that with 1 team. Well, actually, we used to see it with 2 teams, our own. But if we play McMaster, I guess we would see it. And these are just the different fronts, and you can see they're pretty well all the same. We get into a bare front here, okay, where we've got a guy in every gap. Then we just call a solid, okay, and each guy plays man-to-man with his own guy. That's it, okay? So let's look at some film. Can everybody see this now? Mike, nod your head. Can't see anything? Screen. Okay, hang on. Here we go. How about now?
There you go.
There we go. Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right. So here we go. This is 50 protection. Okay. Slow this down. Okay, so we have, looks like an overfront here. Got a 3 technique to the field. We've got a 1 technique here. Okay. So the center, our tailback is split out and he's going to release to the right. So this will be the man side. Okay. These 2 guys are going to be big on big. There's a defensive end out here. I can't see it because the pictures are in the way. And these guys are going to be sliding. 36 would be identified as the Mike backer. These 3 guys are responsible for these 3 guys. Even though they're in the zone concept, they have man responsibilities, which means if this cat here tries to cross face and go into this gap, this center is going to stay with him, okay? And if it's some sort of a game where this 3 technique is coming back here, he will bring the main guard over, and once they come together, we'll have a force to switch. Then they'll release and switch players, okay? But for the time being, what we're going to have is these 3 are responsible for these 3 to anybody coming from the outside. So before we start, the center is going to say Mike 36, so everybody knows he's the Mike. And then he's going to give a call that's going to tell us that we're going to slide right. So I'll use the word Ringo, okay? So he's going to say Ringo out. So which just gives this guy the news that he's got to keep his eyes out here. And if anybody comes in, we've got to pick him up if this guy drops into coverage or if this guy drops into coverage. If these 3 guys all come, we just blocked these 3 guys. We let this guy come hot, okay? So over they come. So now they bumped over with that motion. There's probably a change now in who the Mike is, okay? Now number 5 becomes the Mike. So that center would make that adjustment. He would check Mike, number 5, okay? Now we're responsible for blocking those 3. Here we go. These are sliding. Now, this center started off really well. He's nice and square to the line of scrimmage. Okay. And he's outsized. He's outmatched by this guy as far as size goes. Okay. But he's nice and square. You'll notice the drag arm on the guard. Okay. His eyes are to the 5, to the Mike. That's where he's looking. I'd like to see his shoulders back a little further. His inside hand, that's his drag arm. That's his presence right there. So if he tries to bounce over, he's going to feel him and he's going to come back again. And he's one-on-one with this end. Okay, we'll let it run. Center gets turned. Now the door's open. So the guard now, instead of just taking his hand, keeping his hand there and letting the center recover, okay, he comes back with a shoulder. Okay, so I'd rather him not do that, but his eyes are perfect. They never leave that defensive end, and he stays at the same level as the tackle. And as you can see, just as the tackle gets beat, he has the ability to get out there and help pick him up. Okay? So this is a half slide, 5-man protection. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's it. Those are the only guys we have blocking. Okay? Next one. Okay, same game. Okay. Tailback's going to release to the left. So this is going to be a 61 protection. Okay. Again, these 2 guys are man. He's on him. He's on him. He's the Mike. 1, 2, 3 to anything out. So again, We're going to get Mike 5, Ringo, out. Okay, and away we go. We slide. Now, on this one, we have a game. Okay, so because we had a one technique here, this guy is man to man with this tackle. Okay, so he's sliding down. This turns into a four-man slide. Okay, and as it turns into a four-man slide, everybody's great. Everybody's nice and square to the line of scrimmage. Okay. We got a guy coming off the edge. Tackle sees him. He's coming out to meet him. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. What happens here is this guard gets his shoulders a little bit turned. He can't react quick enough to the redirect. Okay. Okay, just hang on for a second. I'm going to try to do something here so I can see the whole screen. There, that's better. Okay, so on this one, we're releasing to the, it's the same thing. We're going right, okay? If we were going left, they would be responsible. These guys would be man, okay? The only difference here is where does the Mike, who is the Mike backer? Is it the Sam out here, 35? We're responsible for him to him, but it's going to be this guy right here, 42, okay? So he doesn't come, he's comfortable, okay? We have 3 on 2, but we make a mistake here, okay? So if we take a look, we're setting. We have a rule here, okay? That if this guy is soft, if he plays soft, then this guy has to play soft, okay? And if we watch what happens here, okay? Sinovik's defender is playing very soft. He's not coming in and making contact. He's trying to loop out to the outside. What happens with our guard here is he gets himself worked into a froth and he starts to chase him. As this guy redirects in, our tackle has nobody now to hand him off to. Okay? That's why we have to stay on the same level here with the guard. Let him loop around. He should have been handed off here to that guard, and then this guy's got all kinds of time to open up and pick up this looper coming around, especially this guy. He is a load and a half, but he's not the most rapid guy that we face. So we had all kinds of time to get out to him. Okay, so as we slide over, we can see the guard chases, okay, doesn't play soft like his defender, and he kind of leaves he hangs the tackle out to dry, okay? Show one more here. Yeah, let's show us, this is not a great one. Okay. Take a look at this one. I'm going to release. Release left again. Okay. No, he's releasing right. So he's on the left side, but he's releasing right. So now we've got a call for the left to slide out. Here's your Mike. Okay. He's chasing him across. This tackle right here's eyes should be here. So he should be the 2 inside guys. Our center should be picking him up as he is. The guard should be picking him up. He should be kicking out to this guy right here. Okay. And instead, what happens is we take an unnecessary hit on our quarterback. Okay. So that's basically your five-man pressure. Okay. Get back on this. All right, 6-man pressure. Um, 6-man half slide protection is basically the same as 5-man protection. Okay, the only difference is the tailback now stays in on the call side, and he is responsible for that 6-man from the defense. So his eyes are inside out. He's responsible for any backer inside to any blitz, any dog coming inside from a backer to any blitzer coming outside from a halfback or a corner. Okay, so his eyes, he should be able to pick up his eyes right off the bat, inside out. That's where his eyes should be. Okay. Again, offensive line will slide away from the call on the downside of the call. Okay. It's man protection. Okay. We identify the middle linebacker. There's no changes to that. Here's a schematic, as you can see. Okay, if we look at an overfront here, okay, we're responsible from defensive end to the tackle to the mic. He would be identified as the mic, and instead of the will bailing out, his eyes are number 1 to the will, number 2 outside. Okay, so he's always looking inside out, and we want him, if someone's coming, to get as tight to the line of scrimmage as he can. We don't want him, we really do not want him taking a hit somewhere halfway between the offensive line and the quarterback, because generally what happens is he's smaller, these guys have a 5 or 6 yard run, he'll end up on the quarterback's lap. Okay, same thing here and an underfront. Okay, so very simple. This one here is 6-man protection, but we're using our fullback, okay, or H-back now, okay? So with this protection, the rules are exactly the same. The only difference is the tailback is going to release, take a linebacker with him, hopefully, okay? But we're going to have a fullback or an H-back in as the 6-man in protection on the man side, okay? So he'll be on the man side. Again, we slide away from the call, we play man-to-man at the call, okay? Hang on here, we'll get a little bit of film from that. Okay, we got 6-man protection here, all right? Tailback is in pistol, okay? Sets up, nothing's coming, okay? He releases into a pass concept, okay? Protection here, we're responsible for the mic to the tackle, okay? We stay nice and square. We can see that they've got a game on, okay? And as they have a game on, we pick up all the men. We got a 4-man slide here, and we're in great shape, okay? And our tackle is single one-on-one with their defensive end, okay? We look at another one here, okay?
Terry, we can't see the film right now.
You can't see the film. Hang on.
Uh-uh.
All right. How about now?
Yeah.
Okay. See if I can go back. Here we go. Here's the first one that you guys missed, okay? So we're in good shape here. We've got an inside technique, so we've got a 2-eye. This looks like it's going to be a 4-man slide, okay? As we slide down, this guy gets a little turned, okay? Okay, but the center stays nice and square, okay? He's able to pick up the twister. We got a one-on-one over here, and we got great pass protection there, okay? So there's no pressure on the quarterback at all, okay? Look at this one here. We're going to release. Same thing. He bails out. His eyes are in the right spot. Straight up, he's the mic. His eyes are going to be there when he flips his shoulders to turn to bail. Okay. Center comes down to help. Okay, the slide goes. This guard's eyes are this way. He's making sure nothing comes in here. Okay. And again, we've got good pass protection. We got an outside technique here, a 3 technique. Got the big guard here, or a heads technique, sorry. He takes one-on-one with him, to him. His eyes should be here to out here. That's where they should be. And he should be, I would say, probably up. He should have made that adjustment before we got to this position. He should either be up on the line of scrimmage or off on the edge. Okay? He's too close to his quarterback. Okay? He's going to get hit. And when he gets hit, he's going to end up right in the quarterback's lap. Okay? He releases, there's nothing coming to a pass concept. Okay, here we go. Sliding right, 42 is the mic. So we're looking for anything 42 to the defensive end, outside. Anything coming from the outside. Nothing's coming. His drag arm is right where it should be in case this guy comes back inside, but now he's free to make contact on whoever he wants. So he can unload now on whoever on that slide side, okay? So we're going to be sliding right here again, it looks like, okay? Running backs coming up on a freeze call. See what's happening. Doesn't look like there's any pressure on. So we're working 5, 95, 42, anything outside. And man to man, he tries to cross his face. He stays right with them. It's a good job. Our 160-pound tailback gets in the middle and gets run over. Okay, again, protection's good on this one. Everybody's nice and square. Sliding left, okay. See how he gets overextended and he gets overextended. Their feet did not bring their hands. Their hands are arriving ahead of their feet. That's why they're in this position, okay? So this is not a good position to be in, all right? He steps inside. His foot's too high off the ground here, okay? He's not able to recover, okay? This guy here leaned. He didn't step. His feet were stuck in the ground, okay? They should have been covered up. And then he's in a position where he should have been able to pick this guy up on the looper, but he's very lucky that the center, a very good center, is there to cover him up. Okay. And we got away with one there. We'll just do one more. Okay, we're sliding left. I'm not sure where the center's going here. He's going upfield. Okay. He's got to stay on the same level as this guard right here. Okay. Everybody see that now?
You're good, TD.
Okay, we're good. All right, so now we're going to go into what we call full 7-man slide protection. Okay, and it's a little different. Instead of having a man side, okay, we're going to slide 7 players. Okay, it's 7-man protection, so we're going to be able to block 7 guys. Okay, we're going to use the 5-0 lineman, tailback, and either the fullback, the R, or the tight end. Okay, the slide rules are very simple. If we're sliding to the right, okay, you're going to face guard your gap. And all that really means is you're going to keep your eyes to your gap at all times. You're never going to look back. There's nothing behind you that's of any importance. That is your adjacent lineman behind you's responsibility. Okay? We're going to keep that guide arm that we talked about. It'll be out, and we're going to be sliding to whatever direction that we want to slide. Okay? And our eyes are always going to be in that gap, okay? We do not want to get beat to the slide side inside, okay? There's really no reason to get beat to the slide side. If the defense has a gap integrity and they have every guy to a gap, there's not going to be 2 guys. If somebody tries to go behind you, there shouldn't be another guy there if he's going behind you. Your partner, your adjacent lineman should be in a position to pick him up, okay? So, again, we're never going to look or move away to the slide side. Sometimes you'll see guys and they'll want to come back to help their buddy if we're sliding right to their left. Don't. Just keep the guide arm or the drag arm there, eyes to the right to the slide, and slide. Okay. If there's nobody there, okay. So if you're sliding to an open gap, we're not going to slide right away. We're going to maintain that positioning with our drag arm, but we're going to sink to the depth of our other adjacent partner on the right, and we're going to keep our eyes over here so that if he gets in trouble and gets beat back, we're in a position to come off and help him. Okay, so we are the help for the guy in the direction we're moving, not the guy behind us, basically. Okay, we'll overset for body position, okay, because we know we have help behind us all the time. Okay. And we'll always give presence backside, okay, with that drag arm, okay? When we say maintain relative position to the adjacent blockers, that's basically what we're doing is we're sinking to the depth of our adjacent blocker. So if I'm playing right guard, I'm going to be at the same depth as my right tackle, okay? That's where I want to be, okay? You also have to know who you're helping and know who your help is, where it's coming from. Okay, and as long as you've got this protection, it's a pretty good protection as far as getting the ability to get the ball down the field. Sometimes you get a little more time to get it downfield because you have 7 guys blocking. Okay, so it's basically the same slide rules, okay, as we had in the 5- and 6-man protection on the slide side. The difference is the H-back or the tight end is going to be playing man up on the defensive end at the back end of the slide. Okay, so we're sliding right. He's going to be on the far left, working that defensive end man to man. He's going to go everywhere that guy goes. He's going to stay with a man up. The tailback is going to be responsible for anything inside or outside coming off of that H-back or that tight end. Okay? So basically, that's all he's going to do. And if nothing comes, then he can help that tight end out, make sure we stay in control. Sometimes you will get defenses that will bring an extra rusher play side to the slide side. Okay, and we can't get out to get them. In that case, then we're going to have a call Ricky or Lucky or Randy or Lucy or whatever it is you want it to be. And all that's going to happen is when you start to see like an overload on one side, if it's to the slide side, that quarterback or the center can make that call, Ricky, and that tailback, instead of being backside with the tight end, he will work front side and take that force player coming off the edge. Okay, so that just gives you a little bit of flexibility there. Okay, and I'll take a look at again. A little bit of film. All right, hang on. Can you see that?
You're good.
Okay. Coach Harper, I looked for some of this with you in it, but I didn't have to go back that far. We haven't run this for a few years, for a couple of years, but I should have went back far enough that I got you in it, but it was in black and white, so. Here we go. So we're going to slide to the right here, okay? Got an H back here, tailback is here. Here's your defensive end. As you can see, everyone's sliding right. His eyes are in the right gap. His eyes are in the right gap. He's not concerned about 55. Our center is going to pick him up. He should have a drag arm. His drag arm should be out here. Excuse me. He's too far behind. He should actually be on that outside shoulder. He should be oversetting him. And the guard and the tackle here should be square. He's turned in. His eyes are looking at this backer, but he can look at him square. H-back stays on the defensive end. Nothing's coming off the outside or off the inside. But if this guy did come, this would be the tailback's guy. He has anything in here to out here. Okay? That's not half bad. We have a gold call here where we're supposed to be sliding left. Okay. Again. His eyes are wrong. See how he's looking over at 90? His eyes should be in this gap right here. He should have his drag arm. He should be at the same depth as our center. So if he moves inside, he can come off and make that block. Excuse me for a second, guys. Okay, sorry. Okay. We have a tight end here, so the tight end's going to stay on that defensive end. He's got to get his head, he's got to get his body over here. So he's playing him outside in, but he's got to actually overset him here. Okay. He's could overset a little bit. He's in good place. He's in a good place. This is a scrimmage that we had a few years back with 2016, maybe 2016, 2017 with Guelph. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got a tight end. Okay, we're going to slide left again. Okay, he stays with that tight end. You notice that he does not slide. Okay, his eyes have got to be into this gap here. Okay, his eyes are back too far. He's in a good spot. He's in a good spot. He's in a great spot. You'll notice how he tries to catch. This guy tries to use his hands to knock his hand down, his defensive end, and that tackle actually picks his hand off in midair. Okay, it's pretty impressive. Okay. Here we go. Sliding right. Guide arms here, but he's leaning. Okay? He's leaning. He doesn't trust this guy. He's got to get his body over just a drag arm, and then he's got to be in a position to pick 40 up here as he comes. He has a good recovery, but it's not what I'm looking for. It's not what we want here. Okay, this is a slide left here. Okay, this guy's coming. Center's turned a bit. See how his shoulders are turned? Okay, we'd like to get him a little square. He's going to recover on this just fine, but then he's pretty good. He got a little over anxious. He over jumped this guy here, which forced the backside guard to pick this guy here up. Okay. Show one more. This one here, we're sliding to the right. Okay, got an H back, or tight end, sorry, tight end and a tailback here. Okay. H comes out, picks up the defensive end. Tailback's looking. Okay. Again, he's getting turned too much. Okay. This guy here should be over on that shoulder. Okay. Should be over on that shoulder. He should be over on this shoulder. We don't want to get beat to the slide side on this, ever. Okay. Look at that, I got a resume scare or share. That's probably what I should be using, eh? Can you see that now, Herb? Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so this is another 7-man protection. It's big on big protection. It's very simple. You've probably all used this one yourselves. It's just basically your two tackles are responsible for the two ends. Your two guards are responsible for the two tackles. Your center is responsible either for a nose or the Mike backer, depending on the call side, the way that we do it. So if I don't know, if this was 70 as an example, okay, the tailback, or this would be 71, I guess this first drawing, okay. The tailback is responsible for the will to the half, okay, on the left-hand side. And the H-back is responsible for the Sam to the field half on the right-hand side. Okay? It's a very simple and very common protection. Okay? We play everything on this, what we inside out. Okay? We don't want to overset anything on this. We want to get to the spot as the tackles and the guards so that we can redirect inside if they try to come inside. And if we get beat, we want to get beat outside and then run them off. Very, very simple protection. It's a good protection, okay? And I've heard defensive coordinators say it's their favorite protection for running games on, dogs, blitzes, if that's all that they see. Okay, so you don't want to run it all the time if you're getting a lot of pressures, but if you look at it, it should be very easy to pick those pressures up unless they get pretty exotic. Okay, I know at our level, we'll have this in our repertoire, okay, but we definitely won't run it all the time. Okay, here it is against some different looks. Okay. So pretty well the same thing. We've got an over front tackle. So this would be an odd number. So 71. Tailback's got the will out to the half. Fullback's got the Sam out to the half. Center's got the Mike backer. Okay. And then he'll probably help on the one technique if the Mike doesn't come. Okay. This way here, you'll see stuff coming down. It's just very straightforward, very easy to run. Thing you have to remember is you have to work it as far as in man techniques. All the techniques across the board are the same as you would use on the man side of any of those half slide protections that I was showing earlier. So we take a look at if we take a look at some film. Did I lose you, Harp?
Yeah, no, you're good. Like I see you. I don't know. Are you not sharing your screen anymore, Terry?
Yeah, that might be. Hang on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you gotta go back.
Yeah, let's go back here. Share screen.
There you go.
There's a new share. Oops. You had me there?
Yeah, you're on huddle right now.
Okay, here we go. Like I said. And now I say we use this, but I think the last time we used it was when we played Sherbrooke, and that was quite a few years ago. Okay, or the last film I could find on it. All right. So here we are. Okay, we got a defensive end. Our tackle's out on him. Guard's got him. Tailback is, or the fullback is eyeing from this Sam out to the field half. Center's got, he's going to help out here on the one technique because there's no danger in the middle. Okay. And we got the tailback in here trying to figure out if he's going to get run over by somebody or if he's going to stick his nose in there. Okay. Again, we look at it here. You can see it a little better from this this angle. Okay. Against the same team, University of Sherbrooke. Everybody's playing man on man. Okay. Center's helping. This is the Mike backer here. Okay. As soon as he turns his hips, he flips his hips to drop. Okay. Center knows, okay, I can help whoever needs help. And he comes across. Tailback is here. Like I said, I'd like to see him up closer to the line of scrimmage. Okay. Same as a fullback here. So that we don't, if we get hit by one of these guys, we don't end up in our quarterback's lap. We don't need that. Okay. Next one up, looks like we've got a wide front with a mug backer. Okay, so the mic is right here. All right. Again, he comes, this time he comes, our center is ready for him, takes him on. He should be looking here to outside. He kind of gets lost in the pile. Quarterback drops the ball, but the protection's pretty good. Problem with playing Sherbrooke is at any given year, they could be the third best team in the country and nobody would know it because they're in the same conference as Laval and Montreal. All right. St. Mary's, same thing. Okay. Everybody has a man. Everybody just takes the man. It's easy peasy. Can't get any easier than this. Okay. So that is big on big protection. We also call it solid protection. Now, that's not what I want. Okay, the last protection I'm going to go over, okay, is it's a sprint protection. Okay, we talked about it in our meeting this afternoon. It's called turn back protection. Okay, and it can be run with both 6 and 7. It's 6 and 7 man protection. Turn back 6-man protection or 7-man protection. I don't have any film on the 6-man protection because we never ran that. We always ran the 7-man protection. But basically, it's a protection that encourages upfield penetration, but allows us to down that upfield penetration, unlike when you try to reach everything and you get that hard penetration in and your quarterback is running for his life. This way here, when we watch the film, you'll see the quarterback's actually got quite a bit of time, okay? So, like I said, it was sprint protection. You can run it from both, okay? It invites upfield penetration, okay? The O-line will step hard to the call side. So if it's 78 protection, that would be to the right. The quarterback is going to sprint to the right. That would be 7-man protection. The O-line would theoretically step hard to the right. And if there was nobody, if they had somebody, they would open and they would allow or encourage that defender to come upfield into that angle, take the easy route. And then as he steps into the alley, we're going to down block that as hard as we can to allow the quarterback to, allow there to be nobody chasing backside on the quarterback. Okay. There are times when you will go up and try to cut that mic off, but most of the times your linebackers are going to flow over the top. Again, your defensive end is going to be play side, man-to-man with the defensive end, either the fullback or the tight end. And we're basically going to run the tailback out, and he will be responsible for the force player, to mirror that force player and to keep him off of the quarterback. Okay? If you run it in 6-man protection, you don't have the tight end to stay man-to-man with the defensive end. So therefore, your tackle has to reach that defensive end. Okay, so he has to reach the defensive end, and if you have a 3 technique, then that means that the guard to the play side would also have to reach that 3 technique. So we would only have the center, the backside guard, and the backside tackle turning back, okay? This is the schematic on how it works, okay? You can see this is the 6-man, so we have the tackle reaching the defensive end, okay? The tailback coming out, picking up anything that's coming over the top or coming down while the quarterback sprints. The play side guard reaching the 3 technique, and then the uncovered guy opening up, taking a step down, hard step down, opening up and picking up anything that's going to flow off the back end. Okay, and this guy here is going to down that nose as hard as he can. Okay, so it's pretty simple that way. On the 7-man, as I pointed out, okay, your defensive end is going to be, or H-back, it's going to be hard on this defensive end. Everyone else is going to turn back. So what I can do here, the best way to show you is definitely on the film with this. All right, see that, Herb?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. All right. Got a tight end here. We're going to be sprinting to the right. Okay. See how we open up? Tailback is on 34 here. Okay. Open up. And he's got all kinds of time to throw the football because there's no back penetration. As they come upfield, we're going to down to here. He's reaching them here. Anything that comes off, these guys are going to end up fanning out and picking up anything coming off the back end. Okay. been a couple of years now since we've used this technique. Again, he's got to reach this fella here. You can't let him penetrate over, okay? Opens. He could have gone straight up to him, okay? Open, and these guys are looking for anything trailing off the back end. Okay, rather than get that B gap penetration that drives everybody crazy, that kind of blows up all these sprint outs. This is some protection that I like. Okay, so here we step. Again, as you can see, it's pretty clean. Defender takes the path of least resistance. Okay, he tries to come up the gap, and we've got him. See how these guys spread out? This is what you want. So you basically want to have almost like a right here like this. Okay, so now he can sprint out. He doesn't have to worry about something coming over his back. He can see whatever's coming. He can turn and throw. Take a look at the last one here. And it's incumbent on the quarterback. It's got to be, as we talked about today, it's got to be 1, 2, 3, settle, throw. Okay, he can't hang on to that forever. But as you can see, he doesn't get a lot of pressure on him. He sees all the pressure coming. It's in front of him. Okay. Okay, now. All right. Any questions?
There's a couple here in the chat, Terry.
Okay, where's the chat here?
Right over here. I can just read them to you if you want.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
When doing the set for any lineman, what leg do you coach to move first, the inside or the outside? So I think that's either post or your post foot or your set foot.
Always move the leg. You guys can hear me okay? Always move the leg in the direction you're moving. So if you're a right tackle or a right guard, okay, and you're moving to the right, you always move your set leg or your catch leg, your right leg first. If you're moving to your left, you're posting up, it's always your left leg. So whatever direction you're moving in, whether it's left or right, you move that leg first.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. And then Travis asking, how many protections do you guys carry every year on average?
That depends, Travis, on who the offensive coordinator is. Last year we carried 2 5s, 2 6s, 2 7s. 2 5s, 2 6s, 2 7s, but for the most part, they were the same protections. The difference was the release point of the tailback, whether he released inside or he released outside. Okay, so the really the only difference was what the tailback route was, whether he was releasing inside or whether he was releasing outside. But the protections were the same. We had a half slide 60, 6-man. We had half slide 5-man, and then we used a tight end a lot in a big formation. We had a half slide 7-man protection as well. Okay, that's exactly the same as the 6-man protection. Okay, other than on the slide side, you would have a 4-man slide rather than the 3.
Great. And then last one I have in the chat here, TT, is when coaching the intersection point, do you ever use like on-field props or on-field visuals, or how do you help coach up the intersection point during Indy?
In to help kids, or when I've worked with kids, I've used every prop imaginable. I've used a piece of rope to show them the intersection points from whether they're in a 5, a 7, or a 9 technique. Show them that it's pretty well the same spot. But basically, in our practices, we just work. We have a 10-minute period every day that we call man tech, and we work. I usually take the tackles. Sawyer King, who coaches with me, will take the guards and the centers, and he has a series of drills that he will work as far as covering your guys up and working those feet. And then I have a series of drills that I work with the tackles, that where we work on our counters, getting to the point of intersection, setting, then sinking, then turning, toe and go, running the guy off, running the arc with them. And we run those 2-3 reps, each one every single day. That's something that we do on a daily basis. But props, don't have a lot of props, don't have a lot of toys at Mount Allison. Cones, basically cones and players. That's what we use. I can tell you kind of a funny story. It was after Coach Harper left. We had a right tackle who was really, really smart kid, Matt Zwicker. And we were getting ready for Acadia in a playoff game. And we had Acadia's all their moves down, you know, how they'd step to the outside before they came upfield and then try to chop and rip back inside. And I wasn't getting the proper look from my scout players as far as giving the starters that good look. So I got all pissy and barked, "Get out of the way." And I got down into a 3-point stance. And at the time, I'm probably 59 or 60 years old. I hear this quiet voice over my shoulder says, "Coach, do you think this is a good idea?" As I'm lining up to go against a 6'6", 290-pound tackle.
That's right. Hey, you're tough, TT.
That's pretty good. No, that was stupidity. So, yeah, those are about the only props that we use are my body and a few cones. So we try to keep it pretty simple.
All you need. That's all
yeah.
you need.
Exactly.
Cool. Do you still use the volleyballs? I remember I was
yes. Yeah. We use the volleyballs, but we use the volleyballs more for our run blocking drills. Okay, so two-step strikes and two-step strikes, and anything we do where we're striking, we want to keep the guys' hands in tight. They'll carry the volleyball where they kind of carry it under their chest like so, and we'll strike that ball as hard as we can. The players don't feel it, or they don't feel it very much. It takes and it teaches them to keep those hands in tight. Yeah.
Yeah. Well said, TT. Do you prefer tackles being a 2-point, 3-point, or whatever they prefer? What's your thoughts on that? What's your philosophy?
About 2 years ago, I switched over and got the tackles to go into a 2-point stance, unless they're covered by a tight end. If they're covered by a tight end, I want them in a 3-point stance. But if they're on the open side, I prefer they're in a 2-point stance. For the older guys, again, I don't force it. because these guys know what they're more comfortable in. Most of them are more comfortable in the 2. And the only reason that I want the 2 is I find they can see the safety and anything off the edge better. Okay. They're a little faster in getting to the point of intersection. But all of the inside guys stay in the 3-point stance.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Do you scheme protections against specific personnel? So if you have a heavier end or a speed guy, heavier guy in the middle, lighter guy, maybe a little more agile, do you scheme up protections based on who you're facing, or does it stay the same all season?
Well, the protections we have in place are what the offensive coordinator want. Okay, but I'll give you an example. 30 fronts are becoming more and more prevalent in our conference. Back when you played, you got a 30 front every so often with St. Mary's. Everybody else.
Yeah, pass rush downs.
Yeah, pass rush, third down. Now, with Bishops in our conference, okay, they play a 30 double mug, so they have the 3 down linemen and the 2 backers right up on the line, so it looks like a 5-man line.
Like a bear look, yeah.
Yeah, and the linebacker over top. So it kind of plays like a 33 stack. A lot of the pressure is from inside. There's a lot of looping, but the pressure comes inside. So against them, we will scheme like maybe a 4-man slide. So our first move will always be 4-man slide against that team. Where St. Mary's, it's a 42 with that apex backer, okay, and a lot of pressure coming from the outside or away. So what we'll do is we'll scheme a solid look where the center will stay on the nose, the 2 tackles will stay on the ends, and then the guards will mirror those inside backers to whatever direction they go, and we'll get a lot of force to switches, and we're able to pick up those blitzes that are coming from the outside in. Okay, so yeah, we'll scheme that way. We don't scheme personnel, but we will scheme, how we run a 6-man protection or how we'll run a 5-man protection. And we have calls basically if we're in a look where we've got a guard who's uncovered, so there's nobody over top of the guard, we'll have a call that will call out he'll call out so that everybody knows he's not going to slide with him. He's basically going to volley step. He's going to come back quick, follow that linebacker, whatever direction he's going in, and that's the direction he'll be going to help. Okay, and if we have 2 uncovered guards, we have a different call, and that allows everybody to know solid, and these guys are going to adjust.
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys still use a lot of free stuff, and do you feel like you can identify pressures when you go freeze or whatever you want to call your fake snap count?
We do a lot of freeze, and I think I wouldn't be surprised we do even more freeze next year. Yes, it's freeze is an integral part of what we do. Okay, it allows us to see what the defense is doing, whether they're going to send somebody, whether they're sending somebody, whether in a lot of cases if somebody gets a little over anxious, we can get a free snap and a free play, and they'll step into the neutral zone, and our centers are instructed snap the ball if he's in the neutral zone. And last year we got an abnormal amount of free plays by doing that. But yeah, we do freeze a lot, and it does help us and to pick up if there's any pressures coming. Yeah.
Good. So this is a pass protection one, so I think I'm gonna angle this one towards pass protection. What are your thoughts of cut blocking in pass protection, Coach?
I'm not a big fan.
Not even quick game?
And if that was Hoppy, it's
not
2
Hoppy,
drafts.
I don't think.
It's not Hoppy. Okay. No, I'm not a big fan. If you miss, okay, that guy's in your quarterback's face before you can get rid of the ball. And you can say as much as you want, the quarterback's going to catch, turn, throw. He's going to catch, turn, pause, look.
Yeah.
If you got a good athlete, he gets back up. He gets his hands up. He knocks. We learn to block And, occasionally there's a place for cutting, but I don't use, the only place I use cutting in a scheme is backside on wide zone.
Okay.
Okay. If you've
Really?
got a real, a guy that's coming really hard every play and you get an opportunity that, okay, I got to slow this guy down. You might want to get a cut in just to kind of get him to cool his jets a little bit, but not as part of a scheme. No, I don't like it. I'm not a big cut fan.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, it's certainly high risk, high reward, right? You make a nice cut, slows him down, makes him second guess himself. You miss, and you get your quarterback killed, or worse, they knock the ball down or tip it up, and it's going the other way. Great. Any other questions, guys? All right, well, guys, I don't know. Every other coach has been pretty good. I'm sure, guys, every time I've ever reached out to Terry, he's been awesome in answering my questions. So I'm sure if you ever want to talk to him, is that cool, Coach, if they want to reach out to you?
Absolutely. Anytime you want to reach out, if you got a question, feel free to contact me. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Coach. Thanks for everybody for spending your evening with us. We'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Thanks again, TT. That was awesome, man. Really good.
No problem. Really, I hope I didn't go too fast and it was relevant. So
no, I thought it was awesome. I thought you killed it. Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Good. Okay.
All right. See you, TT.
All right. Have a good one. See you later.
You too. You see you later.